The evening air was charged with a peculiar energy as I made the final preparations in our cozy suburban home. The living room was set aglow with soft, ambient lighting, casting a warm hue over the faces of my dearest friends who began to fill the space, each carrying dishes that spread an array of enticing aromas throughout the house. There was something undeniably special about tonight, a sentiment echoed in the excited chatter that bubbled up around me. We were gathered not just for our customary dinner party, which had always served as a sanctuary from our bustling lives, but for something that felt once in a lifetime. A comet, a celestial wanderer, promised to grace the night sky, a rare astronomical event that had captivated the world's attention. As I greeted my friends, their faces illuminated by anticipation and the gentle glow from the string lights I'd draped across the ceiling, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of something more profound than mere excitement. It was as if the universe itself was aligning to offer us a glimpse into its vast, uncharted depths, and here we were, standing on the brink of the unknown, together. The comet, I thought, was not just a spectacle in the sky, it was a harbinger of change, a cosmic signal that tonight, our lives might just tilt on their axis, revealing secrets hidden in the dark folds of the night. The table was set, the wine poured, and as we settled into the evening, the world beyond our little gathering seemed to fade into the background, leaving us suspended in a bubble of laughter, stories, and the kind of companionship that felt increasingly rare in the rush of daily life. Yet, beneath the surface of conviviality, my heart raced with a peculiar anticipation, an intuition that what lay ahead was more than just an astronomical anomaly. It was as if we were on the cusp of discovering something monumental, not just about the cosmos, but about ourselves. As the sky outside darkened, a sense of unity drew us closer, the imminent arrival of the comet serving as a reminder of the vast, mysterious universe that lay just beyond our grasp. It was in this moment, surrounded by friends in the warmth of our home, that I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and wonder. The night was ours to share, a rare alignment not just of celestial bodies, but of hearts and minds, ready to embark on an unforgettable journey into the night. As the laughter and warmth enveloped the room, I found a moment of quiet amidst the buzz, a brief pause to collect my thoughts and soak in the atmosphere of anticipation that seemed to mirror my own. My name is Emma, the orchestrator of tonight's gathering, a role I've cherished over the years, bringing together a mosaic of souls dear to me. Standing there, in the threshold between the kitchen and the living room, I couldn't shake off an unexplainable anticipation that tingled at the edge of my consciousness. It was as if the evening held promises whispered in the wind, secrets veiled beneath the starry sky that awaited us. This feeling wasn't just about the comet, although its rare passage was the catalyst that had brought us all together under one roof on this particular night. It was deeper, more profound, as if the universe had chosen this moment to reveal truths hidden in plain sight, to unfold stories yet untold. I felt as though I stood on the precipice of discovery, not just about the world beyond our atmosphere, but about the very essence of our existence. The anticipation was a mix of excitement and a subtle, nagging apprehension, a prelude to an evening that promised to be anything but ordinary. As I mingled, sharing laughs and serving dishes, my heart danced a rhythm of curiosity and wonder. What would the night unveil? Would the comet, in its majestic traverse across the heavens, bring with it revelations, not just celestial but personal? These thoughts swirled in my mind, a tempest of expectation and the slightest hint of fear. For in the back of my mind, a question lingered, unspoken yet palpable. What happens when the fabric of our reality is touched by the infinite dance of the cosmos? Yet, there I was, Emma, at the helm of this ship sailing into the unknown, my soul alight with a fervor for the mysteries that lay ahead. Tonight, I realized, was more than a gathering, it was a journey. And I, along with my friends, was about to embark on an expedition where the destination was as unknown as it was inevitable. The anticipation was not just for the celestial spectacle that awaited us, but for the revelations that lay in the shadows, ready to emerge into the light. The dinner unfolded with the ease and warmth that came from years of friendship. Our table, a familiar haven, was tonight a stage set for an extraordinary backdrop. As we delved into the array of dishes spread before us, conversation flowed freely, weaving through the tapestry of our lives. We spoke of the mundane and the monumental updates from work, snippets of personal triumphs, and the dreams that propelled us forward. Laughter punctuated our banter, a melody as comforting as the clinking of glasses and the soft hum of background music. Yet, amid the chatter and the clatter of cutlery, a thread of excitement about the comet wove through our discussions. It was as if each of us, in our own way, had been quietly counting down to its appearance, eager to bear witness to the celestial visitor that had last graced the Earth's skies, decades before any of us were born. The comet, with its icy core and trailing luminance, held the promise of a spectacle, a natural marvel that drew our eyes skyward in collective anticipation. As the evening darkened into night, the moment arrived. One by one, we migrated towards the windows, drawn by an invisible pull, as the first glimpses of the comet became visible. It hung there in the sky, a brilliant point of light trailed by a glowing tail, painting a stroke across the canvas of the night. The room fell into a hushed reverence, our faces bathed in the celestial light, our eyes wide with wonder. The awe was palpable, a shared vibration among us, as we stood shoulder to shoulder, gazing out into the vastness of the universe that suddenly seemed a touch closer. The comet's silent passage, a fiery harbinger in the darkness, filled us with a sense of connection to something far greater than ourselves, a reminder of the grandeur and mystery of the cosmos. Yet, beneath the surface of our wonder, a subtle undercurrent of unease stirred. It was an almost imperceptible shift, a whisper in the back of our minds that murmured of the unknown. The comet, in all its beauty, was a relic of the universe's untamed forces, a reminder of the delicate balance that held our world in its steady orbit. As we watched its journey across the sky, a part of us couldn't help but ponder the what-ifs. What if the comet's path were a harbinger of change not just in the heavens but on Earth? What unseen forces did it unleash as it traversed the void, and what could they mean for the fabric of our reality? In that moment, bound by a shared sense of wonder and a flicker of apprehension, we were more than just friends gathered for a dinner party. We were witnesses to the universe revealing one of its countless mysteries. And as the comet blazed its trail across the night, it left us with more than just the memory of its brilliance. It planted the seeds of questions that would soon demand answers, setting the stage for an evening that would unfold in ways none of us could have anticipated. As the evening wore on, the initial euphoria from witnessing the comet's passage began to subtly, almost imperceptibly, give way to a series of odd occurrences that seemed to creep into the edges of our celebration. The first sign was almost too mundane to note: a flicker of the lights, brief and seemingly innocent, like the house itself was blinking in disbelief at the celestial spectacle we had just witnessed. We laughed it off, attributing it to the whims of an aging electrical system, yet the flicker was a harbinger of the strangeness that was to begin weaving its way through our evening. The atmosphere, previously alight with the warmth of friendship and the thrill of the comet, started to shift in subtle, disquieting ways. It was as if the fabric of our reality, momentarily touched by the cosmic, had begun to fray at the edges. Conversations that once flowed easily now stumbled into awkward pauses, as if our thoughts were momentarily slipping out of sync. Friends, whose mannerisms and quirks I had come to know as well as my own, began to exhibit slight deviations in behavior, nothing overt, just enough to send a ripple of confusion through my awareness. Laughter came a beat too late, glances lingered a moment too long, and responses seemed tinged with an undertone that was foreign to the camaraderie we shared. Then there were the misplaced items: a glass set down on one side of the room found moments later on the other, a jacket hung meticulously on the back of a chair that somehow migrated to the hallway without its owner's intervention. These small anomalies stacked upon one another, building a silent tension that hummed beneath the surface of our interactions. It was as if the house itself had become a subtle labyrinth, where objects and even time seemed to twist and fold in gentle mockery of our understanding. At first, I doubted my perceptions, wondering if the excitement of the comet and the wine had conspired to play tricks on my senses. But as these oddities accumulated, a thread of unease began to weave through my thoughts. It was a feeling akin to waking from a dream, only to question whether you were still dreaming, a sense of reality skewed, just out of reach. I caught myself casting glances around the room, seeking validation in the eyes of my friends, wondering if they too noticed the shift, or if I alone was adrift in this slowly unfolding strangeness. The night, which had started under a banner of celestial celebration, had subtly morphed into something else, something uncharted. The flickering lights, the behavioral shifts, and the misplaced items were like pieces of a puzzle, innocuous on their own, but unsettling when pieced together. It was as if the comet's passage had not just illuminated the night sky, but had also cast light on the cracks in the fabric of our reality, revealing glimpses of a world that was familiar yet undeniably altered. As the evening progressed, these anomalies served as the first whispers of a truth yet to be fully understood, marking the beginning of a journey that would challenge the very essence of our perception. As these peculiarities began to thread through the fabric of the evening, my mind wrestled with a growing sense of disquiet. I noticed the anomalies, each one a subtle deviation from the expected, a soft murmur against the backdrop of normalcy. The flickering lights, the slight shifts in my friends' behaviors, the misplaced items, all of it painted a picture that my rational mind struggled to dismiss. Yet, despite the accumulating evidence that something was amiss, I found myself grappling with the inclination to brush these occurrences off as mere coincidences or the playful tricks of an overactive imagination. The effort to rationalize the evening's oddities was like trying to hold water in my hands. The more I focused on finding logical explanations, the more the peculiarities seemed to slip through the cracks of reason. It's just the excitement of the comet, I told myself, a mantra aimed at anchoring my thoughts to the ground as they threatened to drift into the realm of the fantastical. Perhaps the anticipation has heightened our senses, making us prone to see mysteries where there are none. This line of reasoning felt comforting, a lifeline thrown to my floundering sense of normalcy. Even as I attempted to anchor myself to this rational perspective, a part of me couldn't ignore the silent, nagging voice that whispered of deeper, unseen currents beneath the surface of the evening. It was as if the comet's passage had not only illuminated the night sky, but had also cast shadows on our understanding of reality, shadows that moved and shifted in the periphery of our vision, suggesting a depth to the night that was both intriguing and unsettling. I found myself oscillating between acceptance and skepticism, a pendulum swinging between the desire to acknowledge the strangeness enveloping us and the fear of what such acknowledgement might mean. With each odd occurrence, I felt a pull towards the unknown, a curiosity piqued by the unexplained. Yet, fear of the implications of fear of unraveling the comfortable tapestry of reality we had woven for ourselves urged me to retreat, to label these anomalies as figments of my imagination, or the result of the day's excitement and nothing more. This internal struggle was a silent battle, waged beneath smiles and continued conversations, a testament to the human propensity to seek safety in the known and the familiar. As I navigated the evening, the part of me that clung to rational explanations did so with a fervor born of necessity, a shield against the creeping doubt that threatened to question the very fabric of our reality. In trying to brush off these anomalies, I was not just seeking to preserve the evening's joy, but also to protect myself from the unsettling possibility that the world as we knew it could shift beneath our feet, transformed by forces beyond our understanding or control. As the night deepened, the tapestry of oddities that had begun to weave itself around our gathering grew too dense, too intricate to dismiss any longer. What started as whispers of the unusual in the back of my mind had escalated into a chorus that could not be ignored. The strange occurrences, once sporadic and easily brushed aside, now unfolded with a frequency and intensity that made them impossible to overlook. Lights not just flickering but pulsing as if in rhythm with an unseen heartbeat, conversations slipping into loops of deja vu, and personal items disappearing only to reappear in impossible places. These phenomena began to strain the very dynamics among us. The air was thick with a tension that had not been present when the evening began. Laughter, which once flowed so easily, now seemed forced, punctuated by hesitant glances and half-finished sentences. Friends who had been open and engaging now held a cautiousness in their eyes, a wariness that mirrored my own. It was as if the fabric of our reality had become a puzzle, each piece shifting and changing, making it harder to see the picture it once formed. The assurance with which we navigated our interactions was replaced by a palpable uncertainty, a sense that the ground beneath us was not as solid as we had believed. This shift was subtle at first, but grew increasingly pronounced as the anomalies persisted. Attempts to engage in normal conversation were hijacked by the need to address the elephant in the room, yet we danced around it, each of us hesitant to be the first to voice the fear that perhaps what we were experiencing was beyond the realm of simple explanation. The dynamics among us, once defined by ease and familiarity, now bore the weight of unasked questions and unvoiced concerns. The unity that had brought us together to witness the celestial event was fraying, pulling at the seams of our connection. The impact of these changes was profound. Where there was once harmony, a discordant note had been struck, sending ripples through the fabric of our gathering. The shared experience of witnessing the comet, which should have been a bonding moment, had instead become a catalyst for isolation, as each of us retreated inward, grappling with our own perceptions of the night's events. The realization that our reality might be shifting, bending in ways we couldn't comprehend, was a daunting prospect that none of us were prepared to face. In this atmosphere of growing unease, the foundation of trust and understanding that had underpinned our relationships began to erode. We were a group divided not by disagreement, but by the creeping suspicion that the world as we knew it might be unraveling before our eyes. The strange occurrences, now too vivid and too frequent to deny, had become a wedge, driving us into our own corners of speculation and fear. As we navigated this new, uncertain terrain, the challenge was not only in confronting the anomalies themselves, but in bridging the gaps that had begun to form between us, finding a way to reclaim the solidarity that had been so integral to our friendship. The night, meant to be a celebration of cosmic spectacle, had morphed into an ordeal, testing the bounds of our understanding and the resilience of our bonds. The weight of the evening's oddities bore down on me, a pressure that grew with each inexplicable event. It was in the moment of heightened tension, with the air thick with unspoken questions, that I found the courage to voice the fear that had been gnawing at the edges of my thoughts. Gathering my friends around, the words spilled from me, a torrent of concern and speculation. Could it be, I began, hesitantly at first, but with growing conviction, that these strange occurrences are somehow linked to the comet? Could its passing have triggered something unusual, something beyond our understanding? The room fell into a hushed silence, my words hanging between us like a delicate thread, threatening to unravel. I searched the faces of my friends for signs of understanding, for any glimmer of shared apprehension. However, what met my earnest admission was a mosaic of skepticism and denial. Some chuckled, dismissing the idea as the product of an overactive imagination, fueled by the night's earlier excitement and perhaps too much wine. "Emma," they said, with a gentle teasing that belied a firm disbelief, "you're letting the spectacle of the comet get to your head. It's just a rock flying through space, not a harbinger of paranormal activity." Others offered more rational explanations, clinging to the comfort of logic and known science. They spoke of electrical issues to explain the flickering lights and attributed the misplaced items to simple forgetfulness, a natural consequence of the evening's distractions. Their words were meant to reassure, to ground us back in a reality governed by reason and the familiar laws of physics. Yet, amid the skepticism, I sensed an undercurrent of unease, a reluctance to fully engage with the implications of what I was suggesting. It was as if acknowledging the possibility that the comet could influence our reality in such profound, unexplainable ways was a step too far, a breach of the rational worldview we had always shared. Feeling isolated in my concerns, I wrestled with a mix of frustration and doubt. Was I indeed allowing my imagination to run wild, crafting connections where none existed? The solid wall of skepticism felt like a barrier, stifling further discussion and exploration of the night's mysteries. Yet, despite the denial that met my fears, I couldn't shake the conviction that there was more to the evening's events than mere coincidence or imagination. In that moment, the gap between my perception of the night's unfolding anomalies and the skepticism of my friends felt insurmountable. The divergence in our viewpoints created a loneliness that was as palpable as the chill that had settled in the room. The reluctance to entertain the possibility of the comet's influence left me adrift, grappling with the unsettling thought that we might be standing on the brink of something truly beyond our comprehension, something that challenged the very fabric of our understanding of the world. The turning point of the evening came without warning, a moment so surreal it felt as though we had collectively stumbled into the realm of the impossible. We were mid-conversation, a tentative attempt to return to the normalcy of our gathering, despite the undercurrents of unease, when reality itself seemed to buckle and warp around us. It started as a subtle shimmer in the air, like the heat haze of a summer's day, but it rapidly intensified, coalescing into a visual distortion that was impossible to ignore. Suddenly, the room, our familiar sanctuary, fractured before our eyes. It was as if we were looking through a kaleidoscope, where every turn revealed a new, slightly altered version of our surroundings. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting, while furniture flickered in and out of existence, replaced by versions of themselves that were subtly different, chairs with unfamiliar patterns, pictures on the walls that none of us remembered hanging. The room was no longer a single, stable place, but a mosaic of possibilities, each one overlapping and intertwining with the next. But it was not just the room that changed. We, too, were subject to this bewildering flux. I saw multiple versions of my friends, echoes of themselves, each one slightly out of sync with the next. One moment, a friend would be laughing, and in the blink of an eye, that same friend would be replaced by a version with a look of confusion or concern. It was as if we were witnessing the multitude of paths our lives could take, each one existing simultaneously in a space that defied the laws of physics as we understood them. The effect was disorienting, a visual and existential cacophony that sent a wave of panic through the room. Disbelief etched itself on our faces as we tried to make sense of the impossible. Voices rose in a clamor of fear and astonishment, each of us reaching out to one another, seeking reassurance that what we were experiencing was real. The air was thick with the sound of our collective disbelief, a symphony of "Did you see that?" and "What's happening?" that underscored the chaos of the moment. This shared hallucination, if it could even be called that, was a watershed moment. The skepticism and denial that had previously met my concerns evaporated in the face of undeniable evidence that something extraordinary was occurring. The fabric of reality, so long the backdrop against which we lived our lives, had been irrevocably altered, torn open to reveal the startling complexity and multiplicity of existence. The experience of seeing multiple versions of the room and each other was a profound shock to our systems, challenging the very foundations of our understanding of the world. In those moments, the concept of a singular, unchanging reality was shattered, replaced by the understanding that we inhabit a universe more complex and malleable than we had ever imagined. The panic and disbelief that filled the room were not just reactions to the fear of the unknown, but to the realization that our perceptions of reality, so long taken for granted, were merely a thin veneer over a depth of possibilities we had never dared to contemplate. In the aftermath of the reality-shattering experience, as the echoes of our disbelief and fear began to subside, a determined resolve took root within me. The chaos we had witnessed, the impossible becoming possible right before our eyes, demanded action, a quest for understanding amidst the madness. It fell to me, perhaps by virtue of my earlier voiced concerns, or perhaps due to a newfound courage born out of necessity, to spearhead our attempts to make sense of the incomprehensible events that had unfolded. Gathering my friends, their faces etched with a mix of fear, confusion, and a burgeoning curiosity, I laid out my hypothesis with a clarity and conviction that surprised even me. The comet, I began, my voice steady despite the adrenaline that coursed through my veins. It's not just a celestial body passing by Earth. It's affecting us, fracturing our reality. The words felt surreal as they hung in the air, a theory that would have seemed ludicrous just hours before now took on a weight of plausibility in the wake of our shared experience. I proposed that the comet's passage through our solar system was exerting a previously unknown influence on the fabric of reality itself. Perhaps, I theorized, it was interacting with the Earth in such a way that the boundaries between possible realities, normally firm and unyielding, were becoming permeable. Think of it, I urged, as if reality is a mirror, long held stable, now cracked. Through those cracks, we're glimpsing other reflections, other possibilities of existence. My friends, still reeling from the shock, listened with a growing intensity. Some nodded, their own observations of the night's anomalies fitting into the framework of my hypothesis like pieces of a puzzle. Others interjected with their own experiences, their voices adding to a chorus of speculation and wonder that began to fill the room. We debated, questioned, and theorized, the scientific underpinnings of our worldview challenged yet invigorated by the mystery of the comet. This was not a descent into fanciful speculation, but a rigorous attempt to apply our collective knowledge and understanding to a phenomenon that defied explanation. We discussed concepts from physics that might lend credence to the idea of a fracturing reality, quantum mechanics, the theory of relativity, the multiverse. Each idea, each theory, was turned over and examined from all angles, a collective effort to anchor the surreal experience in the realm of the understandable. In leading this endeavor, I found within myself a strength and a purpose that I hadn't known I possessed. The terror and disbelief that had initially gripped us were slowly transformed into a shared mission to uncover the truth behind the comet's influence on our reality. It was a daunting task, one that stretched the limits of our understanding, but in the pursuit of answers, we found a unity of purpose that transcended the fear and confusion. Our discussion, while speculative, was grounded in a desperate need to comprehend the incomprehensible, to find a rational explanation for the irrational. And while we had no way of knowing if our theories held any water, the act of coming together, of not succumbing to despair, but instead choosing to confront the unknown, was in itself a form of defiance against the madness that threatened to engulf us. In hypothesizing that the comet's passing was fracturing our reality, we were taking the first steps toward navigating the uncharted waters of our altered world, armed with nothing but our intellect, our courage, and our unyielding quest for truth. In the wake of our collective realization that something extraordinary was happening, something potentially linked to the comet's passage, we embarked on a meticulous, almost obsessive quest to find patterns or triggers to the reality shifts we had experienced. The living room, once a space of casual, carefree gatherings, transformed into a makeshift laboratory, a command center for our investigation into the unknown. Each of us, driven by a mix of fear, curiosity, and a desperate need for answers, played a part in this endeavor, our efforts fueled by the hope that understanding could be wrested from the chaos. We began by recounting each anomaly, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, in painstaking detail. We mapped them out, literally and figuratively, on sheets of paper that soon covered the dining table, a chaotic tapestry of notes, diagrams, and timelines. Each instance of flickering lights, each misplaced item, each strange behavioral shift was logged, analyzed for commonalities and patterns that might reveal the underlying mechanics of the shifts. Our approach was methodical, each of us adopting the role of detective in a mystery where the stakes were as high as the fabric of reality itself. We scrutinized the timing of the occurrences, searching for correlations with the comet's visibility or particular phases of its journey across the sky. We considered environmental factors, wondering if the shifts were more pronounced in specific areas of the house or at certain times. Our conversation spiraled into discussions on the nature of reality, on dimensions, and the possibility of thin veils separating worlds that were never meant to intersect. The process was exhaustive and at times, exasperating. For every pattern we thought we discerned, another event would occur that defied the emerging logic, sending us back to the drawing board. Yet, in this relentless pursuit of understanding, we found a semblance of control, a way to fight back against the helplessness that the night's events had instilled in us. Each theory, each hypothesis, was a lifeline, a declaration that we would not passively accept the unraveling of our reality. As we delved deeper into our investigation, the room around us seemed to pulse with a life of its own, as if aware of our attempts to decode its secrets. Our focus was singular. To find the triggers to the shifts, the keys that could unlock the mystery of the night. The work was grueling, demanding a level of concentration and dedication that we might not have mustered under less dire circumstances. Despite the challenges, or perhaps because of them, there was a sense of camaraderie that bound us together, a shared mission that transcended the individual. In grasping at any semblance of understanding, we were not just seeking answers, we were affirming our resilience, our refusal to be cowed by forces beyond our comprehension. This endeavor, born out of necessity in the face of the incomprehensible, was a testament to the human spirit's unyielding quest for knowledge, for even in the shadow of the unfathomable, we reached out, determined to grasp the threads of understanding that might lead us out of the darkness. As the night progressed and our search for understanding deepened, a new, more insidious challenge began to emerge within our ranks. The strange occurrences that had initially united us in a common purpose started to sow seeds of doubt and suspicion among us. What began as a collaborative effort to unravel the mystery of the reality shifts gradually devolved into a climate of distrust, a psychological malleus that proved as disorienting as the phenomena we sought to understand. The initial camaraderie that had bolstered our spirits in the face of the unknown gave way to a creeping paranoia. Questions that once stemmed from curiosity now carried an edge of accusation. Did you really see that, or are you just saying so? One would ask, skepticism lacing their tone. How do we know you're not just misremembering? Another would counter, their words betraying a growing suspicion of the other's accounts and, by extension, their integrity. This distrust was not a sudden onslaught, but a gradual erosion of the trust we had placed in one another. As we delved deeper into the night's mysteries, our failures to find concrete answers or discernible patterns in the shifts led to frustration. This frustration, in turn, became fertile ground for doubt. Doubt about what we were experiencing, doubt about the reliability of our own perceptions, and, most damagingly, doubt about each other. Heated arguments broke out, fracturing the unity we had so carefully cultivated. Theories that were once discussed with open-minded enthusiasm were now met with cynicism. Suggestions were dismissed not on their merits, but based on who proposed them, as if the stress of the situation had stripped us of our ability to collaborate without bias. The tension escalated, voices rising in volume and intensity, each exchange more charged than the last. This atmosphere of suspicion led some of us to withdraw, seeking solace in seclusion, rather than face the increasingly hostile environment our gathering had become. The shared space that had once felt like a sanctuary now seemed claustrophobic, charged with the electricity of mistrust. Friends who had once felt as close as family now regarded each other with wariness, as if the possibility that the reality shifts could alter our very identities had taken root in our minds. The irony of our situation was not lost on me. In our quest to understand the fractures in our reality, we had allowed fractures to form between us. The solidarity that had given us strength was eroding, leaving us isolated in our fear and suspicion. This breakdown in trust was perhaps as devastating as the reality shifts themselves, for it attacked the very foundation of our collective resilience. In facing an unknown that seemed to warp the fabric of reality itself, the loss of faith in one another felt like the ultimate betrayal, a surrender to the chaos that we had so desperately sought to overcome. The night, already a labyrinth of mysteries and anomalies, had taken on an additional, more painful dimension. The realization that the greatest challenge we faced might not just be the unraveling of the world around us, but the unraveling of the bonds that held us together. Amid the growing discord and isolation that had enveloped our group, a singular obsession began to take hold of me. The fear that the surreal and unsettling shifts in our reality might not be temporary, that they could, in fact, become a permanent alteration of our existence drove me to the brink of desperation. The thought of living in a world where the very fabric of reality was as unreliable and mutable as sand beneath our feet became my greatest fear. It was this dread, more than anything, that fueled my determination to find a way to reverse the changes, to somehow undo the cosmic interference we believed the comet had wrought upon our reality. My days and nights melded into a continuous loop of research, theory crafting, and experimentation. I pored over every scrap of information we had gathered, every note, every observation, seeking clues that might lead to a solution. The internet became both my lifeline and my prison, as I scoured scientific forums, obscure physics papers, and even the fringes of pseudoscience, searching for anyone, anything, that might offer insight into reversing the reality shifts we had experienced. This obsession was not just a pursuit of answers, it was a battle against the encroaching sense of helplessness that threatened to consume me. Each anomaly, each shift that we had documented, became a puzzle piece in a larger, more daunting picture. I found myself diving into complex theories of quantum mechanics, parallel universes, and the very nature of time and space, trying to piece together a framework that could explain and hopefully counteract the effects of the comet. My friends watched with a mixture of concern and awe as I transformed into a person they hardly recognized. Consumed by my quest, I often forgot to eat, to sleep, or to engage in any of the normal activities that had once filled my days. My conversations became one-sided, dominated by theories and hypotheses about the comet, reality, and the possibility of setting things right. I could see the worry in their eyes, but I couldn't afford to slow down, to give in to doubt or fatigue. The stakes were too high. In my heart, I feared that if we didn't find a way to reverse the changes, we would be left in a world unmoored from everything we had known and understood. This new reality, one where the boundaries of existence were so easily bent and broken, was a terrifying prospect. I envisioned a future where the certainty of our lives was replaced by a constant nagging fear of the next shift, the next unexplainable anomaly. It was a future I couldn't accept, not for myself and not for those I cared about. So, I pressed on, driven by a mix of fear, determination, and a deep-seated need to protect the semblance of normalcy we had once taken for granted. My every waking moment was consumed by this mission, a relentless pursuit that isolated me from my friends, but tethered me to the hope that there was still a chance to undo what had been done. In the silence of my focus, I held on to the belief that the key to restoring our reality lay just within reach, if only I could piece together the right combination of knowledge, insight, and sheer will to find it. In the midst of our fragmented efforts and growing despair, a critical incident occurred that irrevocably altered our understanding of the situation and forced us to confront the stark truth of our reality. It happened unexpectedly, on a night that had started no differently than the rest since the comet's appearance. We were gathered, albeit more out of habit than any remaining sense of camaraderie, each of us lost in our own thoughts and theories, when the world around us once again began to shift. This time, however, the experience was different. It was more intense, more all-encompassing than anything we had encountered before. The air around us thickened, charged with an energy that seemed to pulse with the very heartbeat of the universe. Then, without warning, the room and indeed, reality itself seemed to tear open, revealing a Malic tapestry of alternate realities, each overlapping and interweaving with the next. For a moment that felt suspended outside of time, we stood at the nexus of infinite possibilities. We saw versions of ourselves and our surroundings that defied comprehension, realities where the choices we had made led down radically different paths. In one, the room was decorated for a celebration we never had. In another, it lay in disrepair, a reflection of choices gone awry. There were glimpses of joy, of sorrow, of mundane moments, and of pivotal events that shaped these alternate lives in ways both subtle and profound. This convergence of realities was not just a visual spectacle, it was a visceral, deeply emotional experience. We felt the weight of the lives we lived in those other worlds, the cumulative effect of decisions made and paths taken. The boundaries between self and other, between one reality and the next, blurred until we were acutely aware of the interconnectedness of all possible existences. The incident served as a stark wake-up call, compelling us to face the truth of our situation. The comet's passage had not just fractured our reality, it had revealed the fragile nature of existence itself, the thin veil that separates one potential life from another. We understood, in that profound moment, that the anomalies and shifts we had been experiencing were not disturbances to be fixed, but glimpses into the vast expanse of what could be. As quickly as it had occurred, the merging of realities receded, leaving us back in our original setting, but irrevocably changed by the experience. The panic and disbelief that had initially gripped us gave way to a somber reflection on the nature of existence and our place within it. We were left with a deeper understanding of the cosmos and our connection to it, a realization that our reality was just one thread in a complex, interwoven tapestry of possibilities. This critical incident, while terrifying in its intensity, ultimately brought us closer together. It reminded us of the shared humanity that binds us, regardless of the reality we inhabit. The divisions and distrust that had festered among us began to heal, replaced by a newfound sense of unity and purpose. We recognized that our quest to restore what had been lost was misguided. Instead, our focus shifted to embracing the profound truth of our situation and navigating the uncertain future with courage, curiosity, and a deeper appreciation for the intricate beauty of the universe. Following the critical incident that momentarily merged alternate realities, an undeniable transformation occurred within each of us. The experience, profound and unsettling, forced us to confront the depths of our own fears and desires, casting a stark light on the very essence of who we were and the nature of our connections with each other. This confrontation was not a choice but a necessity, thrust upon us by the cosmic revelation that our reality was but one strand in an intricate web of possibilities. The fears that we faced were primal and deeply personal. For some of us, it was the fear of insignificance, of living lives that, in the grand scheme of the universe's infinite tapestry, seemed to barely register a note. For others, it was the fear of loss, of the potential lives and loves that could have been but were not, revealed to us in the heart-wrenching glimpses of alternate realities. And then there were the fears of the unknown, of the vast, unexplored possibilities that lay just beyond the thin veil of our current existence, challenging our understanding of reality itself. But it was not just fear that we confronted, it was also our deepest desires, the unspoken dreams and yearnings that drove us, often unconsciously, through our lives. The incident laid bare the paths not taken, the choices that could have led to different, perhaps more fulfilling outcomes. It forced us to question the authenticity of our desires, to distinguish between what we truly wanted for ourselves and what we had been conditioned to pursue by the expectations of society, our families, and even our own limited self-perceptions. This confrontation with our fears and desires was a crucible, challenging our sense of self and the nature of our connections with one another. In the face of such profound revelations, the superficial layers of our relationships began to peel away, revealing the core of our connections. We were compelled to reevaluate the bonds that held us together, to question the foundations of our friendships and the authenticity of our affection for one another. Were we connected by genuine understanding and mutual respect, or were our relationships merely conveniences, shaped by circumstance rather than choice? The journey through this introspective landscape was tumultuous, marked by moments of acute vulnerability and raw honesty. Conversations that once skirted the surface of polite sociability now delved into the realms of personal truth as we shared our fears, our regrets, and our unfulfilled desires. These discussions, while painful, were cathartic, stripping away the pretenses and barriers that had accumulated over time. In confronting our own fears and desires, we were not only challenging our sense of self, but also redefining the nature of our connections. This process was a rebirth of sorts, a painful shedding of old skins to reveal a more authentic understanding of ourselves and each other. The bonds that survived this period of introspection emerged stronger, tempered by the fires of shared experience and mutual discovery. The critical incident had irrevocably changed us, not by altering the external circumstances of our lives, but by transforming our internal landscapes. In confronting the multifaceted nature of our existence, we gained a deeper appreciation for the complexity of the human experience, a recognition of the myriad ways in which fear and desire shape our paths. This newfound understanding did not diminish the challenges we faced, but equipped us with a more profound sense of purpose and connection, a shared resilience forged in the heart of cosmic uncertainty. In the days that followed the surreal convergence of realities, a gradual calm began to reclaim our world. The comet, that brilliant harbinger of chaos and revelation, continued its celestial journey, moving further away from the Earth with each passing night. As it did, the frequency and intensity of the anomalies that had so disrupted our lives began to diminish. The light stabilized, the misplaced items ceased their inexplicable travels, and the eerie sense of being out of sync with one another faded away. It was as if the fabric of reality, so violently torn, was slowly stitching itself back together, healing from the cosmic intrusion that had laid bare the depths of our existence. Yet, despite the return to a semblance of normalcy, the impact of those days when the veil between realities thinned remained indelibly etched in our hearts and minds. The comet's passage had been a catalyst for a profound transformation, not just in the world around us, but within the very essence of our beings and the nature of our relationships. We had been changed, irrevocably so. The experiences shared, the fears and desires confronted, had reshaped our understanding of ourselves and each other. We had seen possibilities unfold before our eyes, glimpses of lives that could have been, that might still be, in some distant corner of the multiverse. These revelations, while disorienting, also imbued us with a deeper sense of connection and empathy. We had traversed the unknown together, faced the unraveling of reality side by side, and in doing so, had forged bonds that were stronger, more resilient than ever before. Our relationships, previously defined by the routine interactions of daily life, now carried the weight of shared transcendence. Conversations delved deeper, touching on the existential questions that the comet's visit had prompted. We listened with greater patience, understood with more compassion, and loved with a newfound intensity. The knowledge that our reality was but one thread in an infinite tapestry made each moment, each connection, all the more precious. The comet, in its silent, majestic journey across the sky, had unwittingly taught us invaluable lessons about the fragility of existence and the strength found in unity. It reminded us that the bonds we share, the love that connects us, are the true anchors in the tumultuous sea of existence. As the anomalies waned and life gradually returned to its familiar rhythms, we carried forward the lessons learned in those extraordinary days. The impact of the comet's passage on us and our relationships was a testament to the human capacity for growth and adaptation. It was a reminder that, even in the face of the incomprehensible, we could find meaning, connection, and a deeper appreciation for the miracle of our shared existence. The comet may have moved on, leaving our corner of the universe behind, but the changes it wrought in us remained a lasting legacy of a brief encounter with the infinite possibilities that lie beyond the stars. As the night drew to a close, the atmosphere within our suburban sanctuary was palpably altered, heavy with the residue of revelations and the emotional toll of our shared journey. The dinner party, initially conceived as a celebration of a cosmic spectacle, had evolved into something far more profound, a crucible that tested and ultimately transformed us. The comet, with its enigmatic passage, had receded into the backdrop of our lives, but its impact lingered, a silent witness to the turmoil and transcendence it had precipitated. The once lively banter and laughter that had filled the room were now subdued, replaced by a reflective silence and subdued conversations. Each of us, lost in thought, was processing the night's events in our own way. The air was thick with a complex tapestry of emotions, awe at the universe's vast mysteries, gratitude for the bonds that had held strong amid the chaos, and a lingering sense of unease at the unknowns that still hovered on the edges of our understanding. The party wound down quietly, a stark contrast to its animated beginning. Friends exchanged glances that spoke volumes, their eyes reflecting a shared experience that words could scarcely capture. There were embraces, longer and tighter than usual, as if to affirm the solidity of our connections in a world that had shown itself to be anything but solid. Goodbyes were murmured, tinged with a newfound depth of feeling, a recognition of the ordeal we had endured together. In the aftermath, as the last guest stepped out into the cool embrace of the night, the quiet that settled over the house was profound. It was the silence of a chapter closed, of a night that would be etched in our memories forever, not just for the spectacle of the comet, but for the journey it had unwittingly prompted, a journey inward, to the very core of our beings, and outward, to the furthest reaches of the cosmos. Each of us carried away from the party a personal trove of reflections and revelations. For some, the night had sparked a reevaluation of life's priorities, an awakening to the possibilities that lay within and beyond. For others, it was a reminder of the impermanence of existence, a call to live more fully, to cherish the connections that give life meaning. And yet, for all, there remained an undercurrent of wonder, a newfound respect for the mysteries of the universe and our place within it. The party may have ended, and the comet moved on, but the experience had left an indelible mark on our souls. We were not the same individuals who had gathered eagerly at the beginning of the night, anticipating nothing more than a rare astronomical event. We had been changed, irrevocably and profoundly, by the realization that reality was far more malleable and mysterious than we had ever imagined. As we each retreated into the night, into the solitude of our own thoughts, we carried with us the mixed feelings of a night that had challenged us, united us, and ultimately, expanded our understanding of the universe and ourselves. In the quiet aftermath of the party, as the last vestiges of conversation and laughter faded into the night, I found myself alone with my thoughts, the house around me feeling both familiar and strangely alien. The comet, that celestial wanderer that had so disrupted our lives, was now just a memory, its presence a ghost that lingered in the corners of my mind. As I sat there, in the dim glow of the living room lights, a profound sense of introspection washed over me. The events of the night, the unraveling and reweaving of the fabric of reality, had left me in a state of deep contemplation, questioning the very foundations of my existence. What was reality, truly? Was it as solid and unchanging as I had always believed, or was it more fluid, a river of possibilities that flowed around us, shaped by forces beyond our comprehension? The glimpse into the alternate realities, the versions of lives I could have led, filled me with a sense of existential vertigo. It was as if I stood at the edge of a vast chasm, peering into the depths of what could be, what might have been, and what still might change. The night had challenged my understanding of the universe and my place within it. I pondered over the interconnectedness of all things, the delicate threads that wove the tapestry of existence together. Each choice, each moment, seemed now like a drop in an endless ocean of possibilities, rippling out to touch the shores of alternate realities. Was the path I walked truly my own, or was it one of countless others, each leading to a different version of myself? These questions swirled in my mind, a storm of doubt and wonder that refused to be stilled. The certainty that had once grounded me felt eroded, leaving me adrift in a sea of unknowns. Yet, amidst the turmoil, there was also a sense of liberation, a freeing of the constraints that had once defined the boundaries of my world. The comet, in its silent passage, had not just disrupted the physical reality around us, it had opened doorways to understanding, to a broader vision of what life could entail. As I pondered over the night, I realized that my existence, and indeed the existence of us all, was part of a larger, more intricate design. We were not just passive observers of the universe, but active participants, our lives intertwined with the cosmic dance that played out across the heavens. The fabric of reality, I now understood, was not a static backdrop, but a living, breathing entity, constantly shifting and evolving in response to the forces that acted upon it. In this moment of reflection, I found a measure of peace. The questions that haunted me did not have easy answers, but perhaps they were not meant to. The beauty of existence lay in its mystery, in the journey of discovery that each of us embarked upon. As I looked out into the night, the stars twinkling like distant beacons, I felt a connection to the cosmos that was both humbling and exhilarating. The night had forever changed me, not by providing answers, but by revealing the infinite questions that lay at the heart of what it means to be alive. As the dawn began to break, casting a soft golden light through the windows and dispersing the shadows of the night, everything seemed to return to a state of normalcy. The house, with its familiar contours and comforting stillness, appeared unchanged, a silent testament to the resilience of the everyday. The anomalies that had so disrupted the fabric of our reality seemed to have retreated, leaving behind a world that, at first glance, bore no scars from the night's surreal experiences. Yet, as I moved through the quiet rooms, a sense of unease took root in the back of my mind. A whisper that suggested the calm might be nothing more than an illusion. It was in the small, almost imperceptible things, a clock that ticked just a fraction out of sync, a reflection that lingered too long in the mirror, a shadow that didn't quite align with its source. These subtle discrepancies served as a reminder that the boundary between our world and the infinite possibilities of the universe remained thinner than we might wish to believe. The twist lay in the realization that our return to normalcy was perhaps only superficial, a veneer that masked the deeper, more profound changes that had occurred. The comet's passage had opened our eyes to the malleability of reality, to the existence of other worlds and other selves that paralleled our own. Could it be that these glimpses into the alternate realities had left a lasting imprint, a thread that continued to connect us to the vast expanse of the multiverse? As the day wore on, and life resumed its usual pace, the question lingered, haunting in its implications. The laughter and camaraderie of my friends, the mundane routines of daily life, all carried with them a shadow of doubt, a hint of the extraordinary that had brushed against our lives. The night's events had peeled back the layers of reality, revealing a complexity that could not be easily forgotten or dismissed. The twist, subtle yet profound, left us to wonder about the lasting effects of our surreal experiences. Had we truly returned to our original reality, or had we been changed, subtly shifted onto a path that ran parallel to the one we had known? The possibility that we were living in a world slightly altered from the one we remembered, where the consequences of the night's events continued to ripple beneath the surface, was both unsettling and intriguing. This uncertainty, this questioning of what was real and what might be the lingering influence of the comet, added a layer of depth to our existence. It hinted at the idea that life was far more intricate and interconnected than we had ever imagined, a tapestry woven with threads of possibility that extended beyond the confines of our understanding. As we moved forward, the challenge was not just to accept the return to normalcy, but to embrace the mystery that lay beneath, to live with the awareness that the universe was a place of endless wonders, and our journey through it was far from over.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. We highly recommend you watch the next video here. Oops. I'm waiting for you to click. Yes, you've clicked. Happy watching.